So, hello to my case study. This is about Forrest Gump and post-traumatic stress disorder by me, Bo Baggio. The character here is Forrest Gump from Forrest Gump 1994. The background of the character is born and raised in Alabama, low IQ, bit of an oddball, but what we want to focus on is the eventual enlistment and service in the Vietnam War. There's two settings here: Vietnam, where the trauma happens, and Southern America, where the reintegration happens. The cultural context here is 1960s through 1980s America. It's a time of war, time of significant social, political, and cultural changes. There's a stigma typically around mental health and PTSD too. The diagnosis here is post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Definition of this is a traumatic or stressor-related disorder involving exposure to a traumatic event with symptoms like intrusive thoughts, avoidance, mood changes, and hyperarousal. Cultural view here: 1970s America, PTSD under-recognized, often called shell shock and even combat fatigue. The global context of PTSD is that it was interpreted differently across different cultures. The stigma around mental health at the time was that it was incurable, and that you're not only a danger to yourself, but a danger to society. But the stigma around veterans with this is that if they reached out, they were assumed as emotionally weak. So yeah. And this empirical paper at the bottom basically talks about everything that goes into PTSD. Stuff like race, gender, sex, physical attributes, as well as community norms and societal structures that all go in not only to experience a traumatic event, but also dealing with it afterward. Symptom 1 would be intrusive thoughts. Reoccurrent, involuntary, distressing memories of the traumatic event. The evidence here is Forrest Gump has unprompted, detailed photographic recounts of his Vietnam experience, especially in the death of Bubba, his best friend, and Lieutenant Dan's injury. And another symptom would be hyperarousal. Forrest has exaggerated startle response, irritability, and sleep disturbances. The evidence here, while it's kind of subtle due to his personality, he shows quick reactions to loud noises and often seems awake or restless at night. Missing symptom here is avoidance. Typically, a veteran would avoid something that triggers PTSD, but Forrest here is missing it. The evidence here is Forrest openly talks about the war and doesn't seem to avoid reminders of Vietnam. He constantly visits Lieutenant Dan, is with Lieutenant Dan, reflects, and even visits Bubba Graves. This weakens the avoidance for diagnosis. Treatment plan would probably be trauma-focused CBT or EMDR. Why this is appropriate: it's very effective against PTSD symptoms in veterans. Ethical concerns: Forrest's cognitive disability raises some questions. You may not fully understand treatment or even give informed consent. Barriers: there's a stigma around this. Not many veterans reach out. Limited awareness back in the 1970s. PTSD is not, it was known, but, people didn't know the full extent of it, and the lack of veteran resources at the time, too. The empirical paper at the bottom really talks about how effective these treatments are for veterans in today's age, so that's great. Broader perspectives is that the accuracy and portrayal, it's mixed in a way. While Forrest shows trauma effects, the film minimizes the long-term psychological suffering, probably due to the movie's tone. And the immediate impact of this is that it understates PTSD, possibly contributing to a misunderstanding of how trauma affects cognition and behavior over time. And here are my references. Thank you for listening to my case study.